This is my lap book, and I did it with Leah. She was my partner, and we learned a lot during this. So we're going to be going to Holland soon, and Belgium.
In Luxembourg.
And Luxembourg, and so we're going to see some World War II stuff. I'm hoping to see a lot of stuff in the museum, and I'm going to show you some stuff in here. Like the atomic bomb was very interesting with all the chemicals they had to put into it to make it be able to detonate and stuff like that, and it was very powerful. And whenever they did the test dropping or whatever, they the coloring, like the purple and yellow and blue, were so vivid that blind people actually reported seeing it as well.
And do you remember where they dropped it?
A desert in New Mexico. We're going to be talking about the Holocaust later, but military order of operations was probably the most interesting thing that I had to put together, because the first thing we tried to put it in wasn't big enough, so we had to find another one. But I like doing index cards like this, so it was really interesting. And the Blitzkrieg I thought was interesting. I thought it was airplanes, but it was actually just tanks and men. And pull these up here. See if they don't fall out. Probably my favorite thing was the newspaper report, because I like to write stories, so I kind of put most of my effort into doing that. And I think the Navajo code talkers was interesting too. I didn't know very much about them, and they were there's a missionary to the Navajos, and he was reading an article in the newspaper about how they needed codes, and he thought maybe that it would work to use the Navajo language to make a code. So he talked to the U.S. government, and they thought it was a good idea, so they enlisted 29 Navajo men into the Marine Corps, and that's how they came up with the code. And the code could not be deciphered because Navajo was pretty much unknown language. So, go back and talk about the Holocaust. The Holocaust was what I chose to talk about, also because it affected my emotions, but also I thought it was interesting how the Jews actually put up with all the stuff they had to go through without denying who they were, or not just taking their star off. Imagine most of them probably thought about just throwing their star off and being non-Jewish anymore. But the Holocaust was Hitler's attempt to wipe out Jewish people, Polish people, disabled people, and people who were unable to have children. And the Jews were his main purpose because he considered them animals. They were not people to him. And he built a concentration camp, first of all for his prisoners, but later he decided to put Jews in it. And he made them work with sometimes just a piece of bread one day for the entire day, and he thought that way it would kill them fast enough, but it didn't. So he came up with gas, and he would make rooms that had shower heads on them, and he would take the women and children under 12 and pregnant women and put them in the chambers, and he would turn the shower heads on, and then whenever they were all killed, he would put them into these big ovens and burn them to ashes. But another way he did it was to put an exhaust pipe into a trailer behind a truck, and he would drive the truck around the block until everybody would decide it was dead. But I thought it was
Can you just explain what was coming out of the shower head?
there's gas coming out of the shower head, and so.
And what was the purpose of it looking like a shower head?
Because the children would have been scared otherwise, and they didn't want them because crazy children are kind of hard to control, and they didn't want to have the soldiers running around catching the children, so they made them look like shower heads, so the children just thought they were going to take a shower, and everyone wanted to take showers, so they did it without a fight. There was a German doctor. I don't even think he was a doctor, but he was called a doctor, and he took a special interest in identical twins. And at Auschwitz, I think is how you say it, he was the person who would determine who went to which side to work or to go to be gassed. And he would put people to be gassed on the left-hand side, and the people who weren't going to be gassed on the right-hand side. And he would save the identical twins alive, and he would feed them, get them all healthy, and gain their trust. Then he would start doing experiments on them to see what made them identical twins. And sometimes he killed them with his experiments, but just because how the experiments were. So the Holocaust was pretty graphic, and two people that I've read most about would have to be Anne Frank and Cornelia ten Boom. Mrs. ten Boom would be somebody I would like to live up to, which would be kind of hard, but because I'm not living in her time period, but she would be my role model. And Anne Frank was a model for the children in that time period to look to get courage to go to that place without losing their minds or something. So that's all I have about that, and I don't think there's anything else in that book, so that's all.